Video 4 here in the series for how to build the best home gym is going to be an interesting suggestion. Of course, everyone's always heard of suspension trainers, but stick around because I'm going to show you how you should be utilizing this for the average Joe that doesn't just want to do rows. Suspension trainers are pretty great. We've got an option, KB Duo, that has adjustable straps. And the reason why you're going to want to adjust them is because you can do assistance-based exercises for a variety of things that you may not be thinking of. Have you ever done a deep-seated forward lunge where you really drive your knee over your toe for hip mobility?
That's the only kind of lunges I do.
Well, we've been talking a little bit about the knees over toe stuff, so this is where we're at, and this is where I started really exploring this concept is assistance has been known for years. If you've ever done pull-ups and you're like, oh my gosh, I can only do 3. What do? You use some type of a band to put around your knee, maybe around your feet, and you can do assisted pull-ups, and you can do an awful lot of them and feel the same leverage as you would without the band.
Or it's a great way to extend your failure. If 3 was your failure, throw on a band, get 4 and 5.
Right, so that's a great example of assistance, but what's interesting is when you're doing stretching and full range of motion exercises, they are extremely effective if we all weren't so heavy and tight.
There is the issue where I'm both heavy and tight.
Yes. But let me tell you, though, if you go down into a lunge and you find your peak will be way before where it will be with assistance. So imagine you're doing a deep-seated forward lunge. You're trying to drive your knee over your toe, but in all reality, all you're getting is all that tension in the front side in that knee because you can't take enough load out of your body to sink into your hips because it's too intense.
Right.
Slide your arms through a suspension trainer. I like to put them on my forearms because if I hold it in my grip, I find myself really lifting a lot.
Yeah, it's almost like you're flying it.
Right. So put it on your forearms so you can kind of feel as though you're taking it a little bit out and it's a little bit more controlled. But with assistance, you can get very deep. You can really get some deep stretches in those types of movements.
Sure.
If you're not advanced whatsoever, a body squat is not very easy to do. It is with assistance with a suspension trainer. You back off a little bit, you sink down in your hips because range of motion is probably going to give you the best benefit that you would have if you are a beginner or, a little bit older trying to get through some exercises. Take a little bit of load out, get the range of motion, and it's going to go a long ways.
I think as I imagine using it and have used it before, I think also the stretching side is really, really beneficial with the suspension trainer. So let's talk through what are some stretches that I get having used a suspension trainer instead of just maybe my normal range of motion or other tools around my gym.
Well, some of the easy things is going to be your hanging style. But a lot of people, if you're too heavy to truly hang your mass, you can get away with it from a lower mounted position. And what I mean by that is you control it by your feet. So if you back away from a suspension trainer and bend over and let it stretch your back that way, it's a little bit of a softer version than just a vertical hang.
Okay, yep.
There's also some other types of movements that you can do.
How about my shoulders? Because I think a lot of times I'm thinking specifically on my shoulders and where I'm trying to get a good stretch through my shoulder, I find that if I'm holding anything rigid, I don't get to go as far.
Yeah, so you can do a chest stretch that can get the front side of your shoulder easily by walking forward and having your arms in that position. But another one would be if you slide the handles of these things off to the side, you can kind of put the strap around your hand and back through.
Yes. Yep.
When you have that position, you can bend down and really allow your arm to be pulled away from your body. Another great stretching mechanism, I probably would use resistance bands instead of that. I like those ballistic style bands to do that kind of movement. But what I find the most is assistance movements. And then if you are a little bit more advanced, another great exercise that most people don't do is you can get a lot of work done with your hamstrings. And normally you see a suspension trainer, it's like rows. Well, let's do some rows. We just got to pull our body weight up.
Right.
I use them a ton for hamstrings because I don't have a curl machine in my home gym.
Sure.
I don't have any of those types of things. So by putting your heels up in suspension straps and curling them towards your butt, you can make it pretty darn intense. You can do a running style motion, once again, targeting your hamstrings. But generally speaking, my biggest advice for the suspension straps is bar none, so that you can get full range of motion stretching, more so than the resistance stuff. I mean, would you rather do a row with your body, or would you rather use a low row machine off your squat rack? I personally would rather lift weights.
Sure.
Would you rather do a pull-up with assistance on a duo, or would you rather put your knee through a resistance band and really feel as though you're leveraged in a pull-up? So that would be my advice. You got to get a suspension trainer for range of motion.
I think the thing I like the most about a suspension trainer is the calisthenic edition that you can do, because it creates an unstable surface. And so, like, for instance, I can do a push-up, and I'm suspended by them instead. And so as I get lower, I'm now using all of those accessory muscles to keep my balance in there. And then I can even add in a core and V up instead. So now I've done my full push-up, and now I V up, and I really get to add the whole thing in there. Whereas if I was going to do that, I have to get one of those silly wheels that I'm always afraid I'm going to bust my face on, and all those sorts of things.
There is a lot of advanced ab exercises you can do with the suspension trainer.
Oh my gosh. And I agree. The suspension trainer is known for its row, but I think all those accessory activities that you kind of talked about are the things that really sell it.
Well, what represents this video is like we kind of wanted to get I've always asked, like, what should I put in my home gym? So like this series of video, I wanted to kind of paint a good picture of what you'd actually have in there. And one thing about suspension straps that's kind of interesting is it's like it's pitched as the end-all be-all. This is all you need. But let's be honest, nothing that you buy in the fitness industry to stay in shape is the end-all be-all. It kind of does a segment really, really well. It does something really, really well. So this one can be used for all those types of exercises. You can definitely do a full-body workout on it. But I'm telling you, you really got to get a squat rack so you have something to hang it on. You're not going to rip your house apart. You can put it on a mounted stud and things like that, but
what about the standard I just put it in my door?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I don't know who's doing that actually their door stays together long term.
Well, and even on top of that, you just lose so many angles, so many options, because your door it's just your door.
I personally, suspension straps, I love to be above my head. So if you're tall, you should mount it to your ceiling with some heavy duty mounting options. If you're a little bit shorter, you could probably utilize a squat rack. Some squat racks are really tall, but I think you want to mount it above your head, because you can do some pulling vertical versions, and there's an awful lot of things for your core that you actually want to get under it.
Right.
You want to be hanging. So,
well, and when it's in your door, the only way to hang underneath it is to open the door, which means it's now no longer being hung by the door.
Exactly. I mean, you can do a lot of things with it in the door, but yeah, to be honest, I would not
Squat
recommend. Yeah, you have to be able to get under it. I mean, for example, for anyone listening, imagine yourself sitting in a plank position. You're on your elbow. Well, with a suspension trainer, if you were to put your feet in it, of course, you could move up a foot from the wall, and then you could do a chopping motion. Well, if you've never done this before, it's very intense for your abs if you roll your hips underneath you. But it's better if your feet are directly underneath of it for the sliding motion. So, you know, that's a pretty good example of an exercise, not to mention, say, all those hamstring exercises we were referring to.
Yep.
You need to be able to be under it to do this motion. If you're,
otherwise, it's fighting you the whole time. You don't get to use it.
Exactly. So, suspension trainers for sure would be number 4 on the list. If
that rounds it out.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. It's cheap.
Relatively.
Cheap-ish.
Let's say relatively cheap.
Yeah, everybody could probably get into this for, I don't know, maybe $1,600 total for the whole home gym.
If you're in that range, that's like 2 years at the gym.
Yeah. Well, that's cheap gyms too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if we're doing that and you've got that at home, now you've got that available for 4 members of your family. Now that's 4 gym memberships.
Then they could not use that one too.
Perfect.
Do you see what I mean?
Man, you cannot get fit at home too.
If people don't get a kick out of that one, I don't know what will. You know, it's only a small little window, but hey,
this long.
I will say though, if you do have a home gym and you jack something up, it is pretty nice to go down there for 6 weeks and fix your hamstring.
Absolutely.
Pretty nice to go down there and fix your shoulder up after you mess it up playing, you know, whatever you're doing. Softball,
having an at-home rehab center is the number one reason to
if
have a home
anything,
gym.
you're not building a home gym for you to look at and not use.
What's
building
a squat rack is a great place to hang your clothes. Squat rack is a great place to hang the options so that your husband or wife can see what thing you're going to wear.
My wife did just get an exercise bike. We're about 3 months in. She's loving it. She's used it 2 times when we first got it, and
the tryout times.
Yeah, and then it looks really nice.
Yeah,
it looks really nice.
Yeah.
But
you remember our parents' workout bike that sat in their room?
Oh,
and it legitimately was the hanging rack for the house.
You put clothes on there for sure. I mean, that's how you hang your coats and your T-shirts.
At-home gyms.
You really should try to use them, though. It does help. I mean,
I think the 4 that we've mentioned, one, they don't take up a lot of space, except for the squat rack, which intentionally does. It gives you options.
yeah.
I think the benefit of all of these things are multi, so you get a lot of bang for your buck, and I think that they are professional grade and useful.
I think a home gym should be in everyone's house, and I think everyone should go all out. You'll never use something that's halfway done. If it's kind of dark, you won't use it.
Yeah.
Blow it out with multiple lights. Get those little adapters where you can put 4 or 5 bulbs in it and blow it out. It's got to be bright. Paint the walls. If it's in the basement, finish it out. Make it look nice. Make it feel like you should be in there.
If it's not a place you like going to, you're not going to go there.
Yeah, but to be honest, my body's felt better and better since literally waking up every morning and going through a rehab style exercise program. You know, if you've got the commitment and the dedication, your body will feel better if you get on a very consistent training regimen like that. And if you don't, you get to hurt from not exercising, or you get to hurt and be strong and have full range of motion. You know, I think you just get to hurt in life. It doesn't mean that you get out of here without pain. Yeah,
life is pain. There's a movie that says that, I'm sure.
Oh,
Let's say this then. Maybe we do a number 5, and it is all of the little amenities, the sound systems, the painting, the mirrors, all the weird stuff that makes it over the top. That'll be a 5th.
You want the upgrades?
Maybe
the
we
funners?
do
Okay.
the things that make it pop.
I've got a lot of things that I've done, so we can do it.
You have a very rare at-home gym.
Yeah. Well, let's do it. We'll do another one, and I'll tell you about some fun things.